guys all so much for joining. I can see a few familiar names that were in yesterday's session as well. But as you guys know, Beyond Education have partnered up with IQEQ this year to run internship program across four core areas within their business. Yesterday we covered investment compliance and legal counsel, and today we're going to be talking about the commercial and investor solutions opportunities that are available from by Desmond and Jack from the IQEQ team. And again, if you guys don't know, I used to work at IQEQ, so I'm really, really pleased to actually be partnering up with them for these internships. I honestly feel like working at IQEQ really developed me to the professional I am today. And everything that I do at Beyond Education is literally a byproduct of all the things that I learned in IQEQ. And just the exposure as well that you get in this company is second to none. So I'm a big advocate for this company, and I'm not just saying that because they're paying me. I genuinely think it's a good opportunity for anyone to start their career in. But with that being said, I'll hand it over to Desmond and Jack to take the floor.
Perfect. Thanks, Stephen. Hey guys, good to meet you all. Just to quickly give you an overview as to my background. So I'm one of the directors in our funds business. I'm based out of our London office. I've been with IQEQ now for the last 9 years, which feels like a lifetime, but it's all been a very enjoyable journey. Based out of our London office, but largely servicing fund clients that are in the UK, in Europe, in the US, Asia, and also those that are looking a bit more further afield, Southeast Asia, Africa, and the Middle East as well. So in terms of IQEQ at a high level, we are an investor services firm. So we look after sort of 3 core segments within our business. One is funds and institutional, which is where I sit. That's where we look after fund managers, GPs, firms within the alternative investment space with their needs. And that can be anything from back and middle office services, so things like fund accounting and administration, to compliance, where we act as an AIFM and also as a regulatory consultancy to firms. So we actually act as investment manager on paper for funds in Luxembourg, in France, in the UK, in Ireland. On the regulatory compliance side, we do regulatory hosting for firms in the UK. We also do outsourced consultancy services, which for those of you that tuned in yesterday would have heard a bit more about, where we're acting as compliance consultant to firms that are registered with the FCA. We are also covering depository functions as well, where we act as not quite a custodian bank, but we do a similar role where we do sort of asset verification, regulatory oversight, and cash monitoring for firms on the for funds as well. So that's a funds business. We also do corporates, which is a similar sort of back and middle office service for corporate entities globally. That could be, big corporates, the likes of Apple, Google, that are looking to set up either holding vehicles or company operating businesses globally where they don't have actually exposure to that jurisdiction, so need somebody to help them out. Or it could be, family run businesses. It could be some of our fund clients. And then finally, on the private wealth side, we act as trustee, we do succession planning, we do sort of limited tax advice for high net worth individuals and ultra high net worth individuals in offshore jurisdictions, the likes of Jersey, Guernsey, Cayman, Hong Kong, Singapore. So that's a little bit about the group. We're in 25 jurisdictions globally now. Our most recent office opening has been the UAE. We deal with a lot of sovereign wealth funds there. Oh, I thought that was our first question, but never mind. We deal with a fair amount of sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East. We also, as you guys will see, generational wealth and increased wealth that's coming out of the UAE and the wider Middle East, Saudi, Bahrain, Qatar, are all sort of funding a large number of European and US managers as well. So there's a real keen interest in the region. That's why we've recently opened up there to add office number 25 to IQEQ. So that's a little bit about us, and we can pause for any questions on the firm at the end. So I'll be talking a little bit around the commercial team. So I sit within the commercial team, have done for the last few years. So I'll come onto the commercial internship program shortly, and a bit more detail around that. So on the actual summer internship program that IQEQ is launching, this is the 2nd year that we're doing it. So in 2022, we took on 4 interns, and we equally, all 4 of those got full-time offers for employment. Apologies if there's a little bit of background noise. Yeah, all 4 of those interns that we took on 2022 have all now got full-time employment offers and are working for IQEQ in their respective departments. In terms of what we're looking to offer this year in 2023, same again, 4 roles that are up for grabs across 4 key areas within the group. So compliance monitoring, which will be in our RegCom business, legal within our internal legal team, commercial, which is where I sit. So looking forward to working with a successful candidate on that side, and investor solutions, which Des will tell you a little bit more about shortly. So in terms of the program, it's a 3-month paid internship. It runs over the summer, July to September. We'll obviously pack you full of training and development as part of that, give you a real sort of insight into the work that we do in the respective area that you sit in as part of your internship. And obviously with all of that comes with a huge opportunity to network and sort of be mentored by people that have done this for most of their career. You know, we have a real broad view of people that work within IQEQ. It's not just solely compliance, accounting and legal staff. We've got guys that have worked in-house with big, large asset managers within, you know, CFO roles, investment team roles. We've had guys that have been on the deal side, worked as portfolio managers that sit within our AFM team. So you guys will really benefit from that exposure to them. And I would urge you all to definitely network, whether within this program or future programs that you're part of. Networking has been key for me in my career, and I can't speak to enough to how valuable it can be, how valuable it can be. So in terms of what we're doing again this year, similar to 2022, the view will be that we also look for the successful candidates of the internship program to seek full-time employment with IQEQ at the end of the program in September. So that's a little bit on the program at large. Des, if you don't mind going over to the next slide on the commercial team. So the commercial internship is going to sit within the team that I operate in. So it's our essentially client relationship management and sales function in our London office. So what do? We actually have we're a bit different to the other commercial teams that sit within IQEQ, because if you were to speak to a commercial team in the US or Luxembourg or France, etc., they're really sort of more focused on their domestic market. Now, with Brexit, a lot of fund managers, our clients, have moved their funds to European domiciles or offshore. Now, that doesn't mean that there's any less opportunity in the UK. The UK is still rife for opportunity because ultimately the end client is still based out of the UK. But the guys in the commercial team in the UK cover IQEQ's full global product offering. So you could be sat within our London team. You're not just going to be looking at purely UK fund structures and AFM requirements and depositories. You'll get a view of European fund structures. You'll also get a view of European corporates. You'll be able to get an insight into the private wealth services that we offer. And that's across the board. It would be, you know, Europe, Asia, Middle East, US. We cover the sort of full gambit for our team in the UK. To be totally transparent, Europe is the most common, but we do see structures across the board. I mean, just this week, I've closed a new fund launch for a manager that's setting up a Delaware structure in the US. So you'll get sort of overseas experience from this internship as well. So just to that vein, in terms of the support that we're providing, it is for new and existing clients. So me and the other directors in the team will take a client from initial discussions and launch of their fund or corporate vehicle right up until sort of closings where they're actually calling money into the vehicle in order to invest, and then the ongoing relationship for as long as that vehicle remains active for us to service and look after within the IQEQ group. So that's a bit of an overview of the team, what we do. The team size at the moment is 8 directors, and then we have additional support staff that sit within the team as well. And then equally, the global commercial team across the group is about 360 people that you guys will have some dealings with as part of this program as well. So day in the life, what you guys can expect on the internship program. So sales directors, people like myself, client service directors, or sorry, client relationship directors all sit within this team. So you'll be supporting us with the sort of sales and deal process, right from initial introductions and discussions around services, how we can support a client, how we can help them operate an investment fund, right up to the sort of crunch time, the closings, the objection handling, supporting those clients right up until their launch, and then equally then transferring over to the ongoing relationship management once they're live. On the away from the client side, we also maintain huge networks with intermediaries within the fund space, and the reason for doing that is they largely act as a referral network for us to bring in new business, but also get connected with the industry, talk about sort of hot topics around the fund space, what's coming into effect, whether it be government changes, new regs, changes to the industry at large. We keep in touch with those guys, and we equally partner with them on thought leadership events, and also thought leadership articles and media going out to the market. So you'll be assisting us with that, and you'll also be attending some of those meetings with us. So be prepared to step into partners' offices at some of the big Magic Circle firms in the UK and listen to the types of discussions that we'll be having around how we sort of build business between two firms and grow those relationships. Internal stakeholders are key. So within my role as a sales director, right down to the different levels within the team, communication and collaboration with the wider teams is crucial. So you'll be working with our client services teams. Those are the kinds of guys that are delivering accounting, AIFM support, compliance monitoring, depository functions on a day-to-day with the client. So you'll be working very closely with them. Technology teams goes across our different systems that we use. Prime example of this would be someone like Des on the Cosmos side. Compliance and legal, so working through AML KYC processes in order to due diligence a client, but also due diligence their investors, is also a key part of the process. And then legal, working on commercial terms, legal documents, getting those approved and signed off by a client, and running through that negotiation phase that you guys will be able to sit as part of as well. Management information, so you'll be helping our analysts within the team with collating information from a management perspective, so KPIs, revenue projections, budgeting going forward. That is all sits with our CCO in the UK, a guy called Edwin Chan, who you guys will get some exposure to, helping them with the management information and reporting up the chain to group senior management. So some great exposure there. And then finally, marketing efforts. So we're constantly, I talked a little bit about thought leadership. We're constantly putting thought leadership out into the market. We're constantly hosting events and industry events with our clients and also our intermediaries that I mentioned earlier. And then equally, we're also doing a lot of technical roundtables around new regulation that's coming into force. You know, things like recently we had changes around IFPR in the regulatory space. We've got potentially AFMD2 coming down the line for Europe more broadly on the fund side. So you guys will get a sort of insight into those and some real sort of active talking points and sort of technical knowledge around the wider fund and corporate industry sitting within this team. So that's a little bit on the role. So just to give you guys a bit of a tidbit, I actually did this role about 9 years ago when I first started with IQEQ. So it's definitely a great door opener. And I mean, the opportunity that I've been given within the group in those 9 years has been monumental. It's never felt like there's any form of ceiling or view as to how far you can take your career with IQEQ. So definitely you can work your way up. You can, you know, set your goals as high as you like. I mean, when I first started, did not imagine that I'd be doing a director role 4 years later into my career. But as you say never, and it's been a great firm to work for. So what I'd say in terms of my advice, I talked a little bit about collaboration. Collaboration's key. You're going to work with so many stakeholders, internal and then external. The only way to get through this and, you know, be successful within this role is to be collaborative. And the second part is a lot of the role is going to be client facing or sitting in front of third parties. So confidence in yourself. And we're not talking about full confidence in what's expected of you in the role and, you know, the legislation of funds and operating models. You know, we'll give you all of that. We'll help you understand that. But it's just confidence in yourself and being able to project yourself confidently in front of a client is what we're looking for. Persistence is key. You know, there's a lot of rejection that comes with this role. Obviously, clients, we'd love every client in the industry to want to use us for services, but for whatever reason, that's not always the case. So persistence is key. Equally, building on those relationships, keeping the key touch points, continuing to build a network takes a lot of energy. So being persistent with that is key. And then the final point from me, which I can't stress enough, never stop learning. I've been with this firm now for the last 9 years, as I say. I'm still learning new things on a daily basis, new operating models, new structures, new ways of doing things for clients, new technology that we're implementing as a group. So my advice to you would be, as an analogy, be like a sponge, try and suck in as much as you can through this internship program and your potential future career with IQ EQ. It's only going to benefit you in the long run and help you excel with that career going forward. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about the commercial internship. I'll hand over to Desmond now for the Cosmos overview,
We have a few.
and then
We have
happy
a
to take any questions at the end.
we have a few questions that have come in initially, Jack, about your
Yep.
department. Not sure if you wanted to cover that off now. The first
Yep.
one is also around the sales cycle. So when does the commercial team kind of fit within the sales cycle? So obviously IQEQ being a professional services firm that's selling various different services, how does the commercial team kind of engage with clients, and then when do they pass them over to any relevant team within IQEQ?
Yeah. Very good question. So our different services actually come in at different stages. So if I were to give you the easier way to explain this is around an actual fund's life cycle. So usually in terms of fund formation, there's a couple of key things that need to happen. In order for us to service a fund entity, has to be incorporated and set up and ready to hold a closing. Now we help with an element of that, but that's where our fund accounting piece fits in. But if you look at the start of a fundraising timeline, the very first thing that a client needs to do is select a lawyer to do the actual fund formation and agree the legal structure of the fund. So that's where the intermediary piece comes in and is key, because those guys can feed us a lot of work. But at the same time, a client will also agree what its regulatory framework's going to look like. Is it going to be directly authorized and do an FCA application if it's a UK manager? Is it going to go regulatory hosting and use our license? When we have those discussions, that's where our regulatory team, so the guys that are doing regulatory hosting or AIFM, can come in at a very early stage as well. So reg hosting, AIFM comes in very early into the fund's life cycle, fund admin a little bit later, as well as depository services. And that's usually where we would engage. But we're in touch with, if a client's launching a new fund, the earlier we can get into them, the better the outcome is my view in all cases. But we usually get engaged once they've had those initial discussions with a lawyer to agree where they think they're going to domicile and what the legal structure of this fund's going to be.
Noted. No, thank you for that. And just in terms of another question that came through was, you mentioned obviously IQQ being a global firm and you being exposed to so many opportunities since you started. So could you talk about, potential opportunities to work internationally, and if that's something that you've experienced during your time in IQQ?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually quite a pertinent one given my current career journey. So I have, for the last time that I've been here, as I say, for the period that I've been with the group, I've essentially gone across quite a few different areas. So I initially started with the commercial team as a business development analyst, which is an entry level role that we would expect you guys to come in at, I would think, after the internship program. That was similar to the sort of type of role that the internship program would be doing in terms of data collation, lead sourcing, supporting the sales directors. I then did an associate director role within the same team for about a year and a half. Again, funds focused, looking after managers, GPs. I then actually got the opportunity to launch a compliance business for us in the UK in 2016. So sat on the board of that entity, supported more from a management perspective, but also new business perspective to get that company up and running. And then I moved back across to our commercial team probably around 2018. Sat as a director within the commercial team at that time. Have worked then closely with all of our business functions across funds within that role. And then actually now, where I've reached my career, just about as I'm about to cross the 10-year mark, I'm actually doing a secondment in our New York office. So I'll be moving over to the US in hopefully back end of June, subject to US immigration, which takes a little bit of time. But there is those opportunities there. And what I would say is, you guys, you want to have the touch points with senior management. You want to network within the business, because when this New York opportunity became available, and I was asked by quite a senior member of IQ-EQ if I would be interested to do it and take it forward. And you want people to identify you as the type of person that is fit for this role. And the only way that they're going to know that you're capable and what you're doing is really to sort of improve your brand and have a brand within IQ-EQ, an individual brand within IQ-EQ of your experience and what you're capable of. And we'll help you to do that. But that's why I say, be persistent, open to opportunities, collaborative, because that just goes the extra mile when these types of opportunities become available and access to those opportunities. The access is always there, but improving your network and having people know what you do on a day-to-day basis, how capable you are, is only going to help you within the business.
Of course, no, nice. And it's nice to kind of see like your progression and all the opportunities it's afforded you. Someone asked, what are some of the key tips you can give to an intern joining the firm that is looking to convert their offer to a full-time one?
So what on that front, in terms of converting your offer into a full-time one, obviously we want to see, and we will give you sort of a set of objectives when you first start the internship program. So you'll have an idea of what you're working towards, what you need to do to be successful within the role, and how you get to a full-time position. But from my perspective, it goes back to those points and those tidbits that I had in the comment. It's the collaborate. We're going to want to see that you're collaborative. We want to see that you're confident. We want to see how far you want to take your own career within IQ-EQ, and how much drive and hunger you've got to take this forward. And that's really going to shine through. I mean, get involved with as much as don't overwork yourself and put too much on your plate, but get involved with as much as you possibly can, and deliver on that, and that is going to go a long way.
Noted. No, thank you for that. With that being said, there are a few questions, but I think we can kind of wait to the end. Desmond, I'll pass it on to you. Maybe you can share your screen, because I don't know, the presentation's disappeared again.
Yep, thanks, Stephen. Can everyone see the screen again?
Yeah, could you put it into presentation mode if it's possible?
Cool.
Perfect.
How about now?
Yep, all good.
Great. So I'll talk about the Investor Solutions internship. So to give you a bit of background about Investor Solutions, we are mainly set up to service fund clients, or LPs type clients, ultra high net worth individuals, such as family offices, and institutional investors. So these are asset owners as well. So what we do for them is sort of like we collate all the data, we collate it from investor reports as well, consolidate that all, and then upload it into our sort of InvestRAN instance as well. We also have a separate offering called Cosmos, which are portfolio monitoring services. So these are sort of like dashboards and visualizations to allow our clients to see how much exposure they have, see where the sort of like investments are allocated, and see how much sort of like money they have committed across the various funds as well. Investor Solutions, when I started, it was like probably like a 20-man people. We've now grown up to 30 people, and we're split across UK, Dublin, Belfast, and Manila as well. So I sit within sort of the London team as well. We have roughly 4 people there, 2 people in Belfast, and then roughly around 20 to 30 people in Manila as well. And we work with a lot of different types of people as well. So in terms of the day in my life, really, I'm mainly responsible for 2 parts. First is the onboarding of new clients onto a Cosmos platform. So I'll sit down with clients, understand what they want to achieve from Cosmos reporting standards as well, understand what the data collection challenges are, understand what the reporting challenges are, and look at seeing how we can best implement that within our Cosmos reporting tool as well. The second part of my responsibilities is our product roadmaps, what new modules we're looking to build out, what new features we're looking to build out, and what new technologies we can utilize going forward to streamline our processes. So we're currently looking at data extractions using AI and machine learning to extract data from unstructured sources. We're also looking at web forms and data ingestions to allow the end user to upload the data more directly into our Cosmos platform. And we're also looking at how we can better improve our end user experience on Cosmos, so utilizing a web portal to interact with different functionalities, whether it being comments, collaborations, and sort of like creating custom reports as well. In terms of the internship program, really here, as I alluded to, it's just like talking to clients about the challenges. So in terms of data collections, what they're reporting on, what the LPs request as well. Looking at sort of like technologies to automate manual processes. So how we can utilize technologies to scrape data from unstructured sources, whether it be PDFs, Excels, CSV files, PowerPoints, and improving that to sort of like enrich our asset owner offering and our Cosmos offering as well. We talk to a very diverse range of stakeholders, both internally and externally. So we talk from everyone from accountants, developers, ESG specialists, software developers as well. And we also talk to like commercial people as well in terms of like when we onboard new clients, what are their specific requirements as well. We also spend a lot of time in terms of managing expectations, both internally and externally. So it's quite key in this role to make sure that everyone's on the same page, everyone knows what they're doing in terms of like when they need to deliver as well. We also do a lot of research and gap analysis on technology providers. So we spend a lot of my time looking and researching at new technologies and seeing how we can best utilize them going forwards and what the benefits are and what the gap analysis in between existing sort of like a technology is. In terms of like since I've been here, so I've been here for roughly 2 years and I've been doing this role since then. What I can say is that it's been very fast paced. It's been sort of like it's very much on your own sort of like initiative to move things forward and get things done as well. So in terms of the internship role and what I can best recommend is sort of like being proactive, taking the lead on yourselves. We're not a micromanager firm, so we don't tell you how to do things and what to do things. It very much just like we give you a problem and then it's on your sort of like best initiative to how you can better resolve that and seeing what you can come up with. We will steer you and guide you in the best way that we see fit as well. And we'll sort of be there to provide support as and when needed. We're also very pragmatic. So we also look at what the short-term goals are, what the long-term goals are, and what sort of like what we can do now versus what we can do sort of like in 2 or 3 months' time as well. As I said before, take the lead and take initiative and get things done really. So these are also like the key like roles in terms of like how we can succeed going forward really.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Desmond. A few questions have kind of come in. So one was, how closely does the commercial team and investor solutions team work together to bring Cosmos Tech to clients?
So I think in terms of commercial roles, Jack and his team will sort of like liaise with the leads on the sort of like new businesses. Once those have been signed up, then it'll be passed on to my team as well, and we'll sort of like set them up on Cosmos as well. So that's sort of like how the sort of like structure works really.
Noted. And obviously, given your role as product manager, this was a second question. Do you have any sort of responsibility to kind of like engage with potential new clients as well? Or is this something that is purely just down to the commercial team to do?
So I will engage with new clients, but it's a little bit further down, sort of like the sales cycle. So once sort of like it's more sort of on the closing end, I'll jump in and then help out with the more technical questions, answer more of the sort of like what their actual requirements are, give the client the comfort in terms of like how our onboarding process sort of like works as well.
Noted, noted. Another question here from Ahmed. So obviously you have like different types of clients that may want different reporting functions and just various different functions that may be outside of Cosmos capabilities. So how do you kind of manage complicated projects like that? How do you manage expectations with clients who have very bespoke things that may be outside of the Cosmos capability platform?
So that's a good question. So one of our recent clients asked us to integrate with an external sort of like data source as well. Again, that was sort of like outside of our sort of like Cosmos offering. So what we do is that we leverage our group technology. Group technology support the wider IQEQ sort of like businesses. So we can leverage their sort of like resources and their sort of like technology as well to help us implement anything that's sort of like outside of our own scope really. But what we typically do is that we also like do a requirements gathering session with the client, understand what the limitations are within Cosmos, communicate that with our group technology team, understand what the timelines are and what the potential solutions are, and then just like work with the client going forward as well.
Noted. No, thank you for that. Another question from Mohammed. So, how does IQQ ensure that clients are satisfied with services provided, and how can an intern kind of contribute towards that process?
Yeah,
I
so
don't mind
once,
taking that one.
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Des. I was going to say I don't mind taking that one on the relationship management side. So from a relationship management perspective, so we would do a periodic check-in with all of our clients to do an actual service review. And it's sort of two parts. It's to see how everything's been going to date, what's are there any issues or concerns that the client would like to raise, or areas that need to be addressed? What are their sort of future plans? So what's their timeline? What are their plans for the next 3, 5, 10 years, from more of a commercial perspective? And what more can we do to support them? They may turn around and say, actually, next year we're going to launch Fund 3 and we need your support with that. Or they may turn around and say, look, guys, there's a delayed distribution that happened last month. We need to ensure that this doesn't happen again. And the RM will then take full responsibility for working that through the CS teams and ensuring that the client is then satisfied with the service going forward. Now, I would expect on the commercial side, as part of the commercial program, you guys would be able to sit in some of those meetings to get a bit of a view if that's of interest. To sit with an RM and attend one of those commercial review meetings to support the RM from sort of a review process and understand what a client's typical concerns are, what are the sort of things that they really like to drill down into from a service perspective, and get a bit more exposure to that. Des, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, from a Cosmos perspective, once a client goes live onto our platform, we'll sort of like handhold them the first couple of months, make sure that they're happy and comfortable, and then we'll do sort of like regular sort of like CRM checkups with them. So make sure that ongoing basis as well, sort of information that they're receiving is accurate, up to date. The quality of our sort of like services is sort of like best as well, and our communication is tip top. We also like to sort of like feature new demos and sort of like new features that are sort of like we're constantly rolling out. So some of the features are sort of like looking at cash flow forecasting as well, looking at how we can sort of like better integrate that into our platform, and then any other sort of like smaller features that won't be useful for clients, we'll like to demo that and then see if they want that to be implemented as well.
Noted. Another question here that's been asked directly. This one's for you, Jack. What is the typical length of the sales cycle from engaging with a new client to actually signing them on board? And maybe you can kind of give like variances as well. Like, what's the shortest time you've signed a client? And
I was about to say how long's a piece of string, but I've had clients that have finalized the sales process within 48 hours.
Wow.
And I've had ones where it's taken 2 years. So it's a real difference. The reason for the difference is really depending on the service that they want us to provide. Typically if it's something that's relatively small scope, smaller fees, if we're talking about regulatory hosting or compliance consulting, which are sort of immediate start services that are some are light touch, some can be more in depth, but equally it's an easier commercial decision for the client to make. Then you can see a sales cycle turned around in maybe 3 months at a maximum. But when you're talking about an actual new fund launch and a potential fund migration, and what I mean by a fund migration is a client that is unhappy with their existing service provider wanting to move it over to us, those discussions usually take a minimum of 6 months up to, as I say, I've had one that's taken 2 years. Positive outcome, and nonetheless, but they can take an element of time. And the process around that, the sales cycle can take that long. Then the onboarding cycle is usually anywhere from 2 months up to maybe 6 months to be fully live on a fund migration. A lot quicker for new launches. So yeah, you guys will get to see that. You'll get an understanding of how that cycle works, but that's a typical time frame.
Noted. And another question that came through directly. Oh, actually, this one's quite an interesting one. Jack, how has ChatGPT and AI influenced the way you've worked in any capacity, shape, or form?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, we haven't seen from an IQ-EQ perspective just yet too much AI integration. We do a lot of automation through technology on investor AML and KYC, on some of the report output that we do. But in terms of actually getting artificial intelligence into the offering, it's something that our technical teams, more on the IT and business analyst side, are looking to implement. There are areas that we are looking at. So for example, when you're looking at subscription agreements for a client, wanting to pick out the key clauses and terms, or even write into some of those documents, we are looking to have an AI overlay on that. And then equally in terms of review of financial information, a lot of what we're doing, and Des is probably better to talk on this, but digestion of information and data using systems like Snowflake, for example, to actually have IQ-EQ as one true source of data for our clients as well is a real big area for us at the moment. So our technology only helps us sell to new clients, and it's always an area that we're continuing to improve and add to. So I would expect more AI opportunities to come in the future, but as present, it's a little bit limited. But I would also caveat it by saying that for the commercial team roles and also the wider roles on offer, it's not a role that AI is ever going to replace anytime soon.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I think to the earlier point that you said, I think it's still early days, to be honest, to see like how AI is going to influence like the professional services industry. But it's still very much on surface level at the moment anyways. This one was for you, Desmond. So obviously you
Yep.
sit as product manager within the Cosmos team. So what does that role look like from a development standpoint? Are you like continually working on, developing the Cosmos platform and, adding new features? How does that work from your perspective?
So I'll talk a little bit about the AI piece first. So in terms of AI, so that's quite prevalent for Cosmos. So we utilize AI to extract data from unstructured sources. So a lot of our clients will have investor reports, which are PDFs, and we'll sort of use AI technology to scrape all that information and have it sort of more normalized so that it's more efficient for us to process and then upload into sort of like Snowflake or Invest. And then from that point going forwards, it'll be displayed into Cosmos as well. So those are the sort of like things that we're looking at from an AI perspective as well. In terms of like ChatGPT, I've used it sort of like both internally just to make some of our internal processes a little bit more automated as well. So these are more the Excel type macros as well that we can automate via ChatGPT. In terms of my role here, in terms of like how we sort of like develop Cosmos going forwards. So I manage a team of developers. They're split into two teams. One is our sort of like onboarding team, which manage all the new clients as well and maintain them going forwards. Our separate team is sort of like our product development team. So we'll have a roadmap of like the various new features that we want to sort of like resolve going forward. So the new features are sort of like using Tableau to automate various processes that we have, whether it be uploading data, streamlining SQL mapping as well, and then sort of like automating the calculations that we do so that our clients can see that information a lot quicker. We also look at sort of like new features in terms of like new regulations as well. So one of the recent regulations was SFDR from ESG's perspective. So we've built a completely new bespoke modules just to cater for that as well. And then we're constantly looking for new sort of like challenges going forward so we can better offer sort of like our sort of like solution going forwards really.
Noted. And I think someone kind of preempted your question, your what you were speaking to in terms of like new solutions. They mentioned
Yeah.
that what programming language does like Cosmos use and what is next on the roadmap at the moment. If you could speak to that, or maybe that's proprietary, I don't know.
So we mainly use Tableau to visualize our data. We use SQL, we use Python, and that's sort of like our core offering as well. But going forward, we're looking sort of like how we can better sort of use like other technologies as well. So we're not fixed at one using technology. We're constantly looking at what other technologies we can use going forwards.
Noted. Another question for you, Desmond, is with regards to the Cosmos platform, you mentioned that obviously you use it to visualize like a client's exposure in terms of the assets they've invested in. Do you use the platform to assess like risk tolerance of their portfolios? And if so,
Yep.
like how does that work within the platform?
So we have like a module called breach reporting whereby a client can monitor the breaches. So the breaches could be, so let's say, they cannot have more than, let's say, 10% exposed to a certain fund manager as well. So those are the sort of like breaches that we can sort of like tailor or sort of like develop in our Cosmos sort of platform as well.
Noted. And what kind of qualifications or professional developments can you kind of get within this role, given the fact that this role is quite niche to IQEQ's product? So what do you recommend is something that you
So I
have?
don't come from a technology background, so my sort of like degree was in accounting and finance as well. I have worked in like sort of like startups as well, so I would say don't fixate yourself on sort of having a technology background. If you know a little bit about technology, that's more than good enough. But showing you sort of like how you can be sort of proactive, how you can be pragmatic, and how you can get things done as well, really. In terms of technology skills, it would be useful for, say, the interns or whoever is going to apply to have some exposure to whether it be SQL, Python, or Tableau. Those sorts of like core sort of technologies that we use.
Noted, noted. And in terms of like professional development, when you're in the role, what would you advise as something that a course that maybe you can do to professionally develop within the role?
So personally, I've used Code Academy to sort of like brush up on my Python skills. So that's been really useful for me as well. In terms of like when you get within sort of like this role as well, we do offer sort of like study support. So should an intern be successful as well, we can offer them support to go on external courses as well. But what I would say is to talk to lots of different people and stakeholder management, networking as well, to understand what other technologies other people use as well, really.
Noted. Thank you for that. Jack, this one is for you. So it's kind of like a twofold question. And it's around incentives as a business development rep. So what is the typical salary range if you're at that analyst position? Obviously, I know that this has changed significantly from when you were an analyst. But if you could kind of
Yeah.
give a range to what you can expect joining as an analyst.
So in terms of sort of salary ranges, it would have changed drastically from when I started. I personally, being quite candid, I think when I started as an analyst, it was about £21,000 a year. It has changed since then, and a full-time position would be probably a little bit higher, or a fair amount higher than that now. But in terms of salary negotiations and discussions, we do that at the end of the internship program. But I would expect for somebody coming into this role, you're probably looking at around sort of the high 20s, 30k mark as an entry level position.
Noted. And then the second question for you is in terms of your role as a director now, how are you incentivized to kind of bring clients on board beyond like your salary? Like, how does that work when you're at that senior level?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that the group is very good at. So if you do go to fully down the sales path, as with any sales role, a lot of your incentivization comes from your actual performance. So you would still get, a decent base salary, but you would ultimately get, as we call most of your bread and butter from commission related to your performance, and that is what a lot of the guys focus on. Salary still is what would be considered market rate for a director, business development director. So you're more than welcome to go out and source that and have an idea of what I get paid.
Yeah.
But in terms of so base salary, commission, and also equity is something that the group is also very good at. So actually getting a piece of IQ-EQ further down the track, I'll be perfectly honest, as an intern and a new joiner, that won't be a day one offer. But once you get a few years into your role, that's definitely something that is available.
Perfect. And then final question, it looks like it. Someone asked, what does it take to kind of stand out in the interview process, right? Like, what would you be looking for an ideal candidate to be able to demonstrate in the interview process to kind of ace it and secure the job? So maybe that's one for both of you.
Des, you want to go first?
Yeah, so I think if you can prove that in terms of like your previous experience, whether it be in university, whether it be in other internships, that you've gone out and done things by yourself or got things done, and you just like utilize or leverage technology as well to help you achieve that, that I would say would be a standout, really.
Noted. What about you, Jack?
So from my perspective, still confidence is key. We want to be, we want you to come across, we want you to present well, we want you to do some preparation as well. I don't think enough people do this as part of an interview process. It's very well and good understanding the business, what we do, when we started, who the senior management are, but actually having a bit of a view on what you can bring to the role, what you can bring to the team is crucial. What key skills are you going to bring along that the next candidate isn't? Where can you actually support the team and add value to the work that we're doing? Because that's key, right? Adding value is across the entire chain of everything IQ-EQ does, from servicing clients, the offering that we put forward, right down to the staff is, what is the value proposition that we can bring forward, and what is the value proposition that you as an individual can bring to IQ-EQ? Once you've got past that stage, it's how far can you take it, and that's over to you. We'll fully support you with it, but it's we want to see that drive, we want to see that energy and motivation. That's key for me.
Noted. Another question. Sorry, the questions just keep on coming in. Someone asked, what is the typical work hours? And again, question for both of you guys in the role.
Yeah, so I don't mind taking that one first. Very good question. In terms of typical workday for the commercial team, is quite varied. So yes, contracting hours will be 9 till 5. but with an element of, and the enjoyable part, sort of socializing, spending times with clients, whether it be dinners, lunches, drinks events, more sort of activity based events. Like, you'd be surprised how many of my clients I've played darts with, or gone to the likes of shuffleboard and places like that. Electric Shuffle, for example, is the hot one at the moment. All these things are obviously happening out of hours. So there is that element of time that you will spend outside of your 9 to 5 working with clients. Now, I'd also say the 9 to 5 role, depending on work that's taken on and what you're doing, I don't expect this during the internship in any case, but on the if you do a full-time position, there's going to be expectation sometimes on you to flex that. It's not going to be every day, but if there is, a key project or something that needs to be delivered to a set time frame, everybody pitches in, and we'd expect the same of you guys.
Noted. What about you, Desmond?
So I think from a Cosmos perspective, we have very standard 9 to 5 hours. Depending on the clients and the projects you'll be working on, you may be expected to shift your hours slightly. So for example, if clients are based in stuff like Asia or like Australia, you may be asked to start slightly earlier. And again, if the clients are also in US based, again, you may be asked to start slightly later as well. And again, sometimes we will meet and greet our clients as well. So we may sort of like go out with clients either during lunch or outside of work as well, albeit maybe not as often as Jack does.
No. Question for Jack. How do you maintain your composure and professionalism when dealing with new clients and facing rejection? And I think this one's really important as well, Jack, because you joined at a relatively junior level. So you kind of had a really steep learning curve. And they basically just asked, like, what strategies do you use to kind of learn from these experiences, and how do you kind of navigate that whole space?
Yeah, and I would say, right, it's an overly cheesy line, but you learn absolutely nothing from the wins. Where you actually get the learnings from and the experience is more from the losses. So you have to have them, and that's where you get the experience from. That's where you adapt. That's where you change your how you approach a task going forward. You're not going to make the same mistake twice, I'd hope. So it's learning from the rejection, learning from some of the potential areas where you may have fallen short in prior pitches. There's going to be ones where you couldn't do anymore, and you'll get to a stage where you think there's no more. And what I would say is, where you want to get to is comfort within yourself that there's no more you could have done in order to get there, because it's the doubts that will be the issue. So I'd just say, build on your mistakes and learn from them. Don't worry about the rejection. You guys, we're not going to sit there and slap you with targets as part of an internship or a business development analyst role. We're just going to want to see you sort of keen, looking to develop, looking to sort of get the knowledge. Getting the knowledge is really the key thing at an initial stage, because that is probably the most difficult task. It's knowledge that's going to be invaluable in your career once you've got it. But when I remember my first day coming in, having no idea what a fund structure was, how an actual fund operates, the different services that IQEQ offers, how these actually correlate to what a client needs, what does the actual client perceive as valuable compared to what they don't. All of that stuff will help you with and will give you a view on, but that's where we want you to be. I use the analogy of a sponge, suck in as much information as possible. And to the rejection point, that's where you get some of the real good stuff, even though it's not a positive outcome. That's where you're getting the real bits that you can build on and take forward.
Noted. A question here that's coming, which I feel like I can answer as well from my vague memory of working at IQEQ. How inclusive are IQEQ offices for Muslims that need to pray during the day? So I remember in the London office specifically, there's actually a prayer room. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, there's actually a prayer room right next to the kitchen. And it's very spacious and accommodate for people to kind of hold their prayers in there as well.
Yeah, there is indeed.
Perfect. Someone asked about social. So IQQ has something called a CHESS initiative. I don't actually know what the acronym stand for, but it's various different causes such as charity, hospitality, environment, and the two S's, which I honestly don't know what they're for. But
sports and social. I thought you'd still have it, Stephen.
Sports and social, yes, that's the one. So yes, it very much encompasses and encourages like work socials, after work and stuff like that. I mean, they're really big on that. Another question here. Someone just asked, coming from a consulting background, will I be able to transfer into this field and maintain my level? So again, because of this is an internship, it's very much at the junior level. And as Jack and Desmond have kind of explained, the natural progression into that would be an analyst level role. But I think your skills will very much be transferable from consultant, because IQQ is a professional services firm working with clients. So that's kind of like the whole basis of the role and what you would be doing, essentially just engaging with clients pretty much. But with that being said, it looks like there are no more questions here. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. I'm gonna be circulating a feedback form so you guys can give us feedback on the session, how we can make the sessions better for you. The roles are live and applications will be closing next week, Friday. And they could close earlier based on the amount of applications we receive. We're currently sitting at 150 applications, so get your applications as soon as possible. There's no cover letter required. You just need to have a tip-top CV. That'll be much appreciated. And yeah, I'll be circulating a feedback form after, and a recording of the session will be made available on our website. If you are a member, you can access that as well. But Jack, Desmond, thank you guys so much for spending some time to speak to us today. Really do appreciate it.
No, likewise, great meeting you all, and hopefully look forward to meeting some of the successful candidates when you start in the summer. But pleasure, guys. Thanks very much.
Bye,
Thanks a lot.
guys.
Thanks, Stephen. Bye.